So the UK government has been quietly laying the groundwork for what they call a national digital identity system. They're presenting it as a way to simplify paperwork and make life more convenient. But there's a lot more to it than that, and people should be seriously concerned. This could change the way you work, the way you access public services, travel, pay taxes, and even prove who you are forever. For anyone new here, I'm Cal. I'm a former qualified lawyer, trained in the UK and also qualified in the US. And today, I want to talk to you about something that might sound harmless on the surface, but has got serious implications underneath it. I'm going to explain the true impact of Labour's new digital ID card rollout, which will likely get rolled out gradually over the next few years, what it's going to mean for you, and what you need to do to prepare yourself, and what you need to do to prepare. You are not going to want to miss this one. Let's get straight into it. All right, let's start with the basics. What is a digital ID? Well, a digital ID in theory is an electronic way to prove who you are. Think of it as a virtual passport that lives on your phone or on your device, and it confirms things like your name and your age and your right to work in the UK, your right to rent, your right to drive, and so on. Now, the government says that it's just like having a digital wallet for all your important documents, a more convenient, more secure, and more modern state. They say it will stop fraud and make it easier to prove who you are without constantly uploading passport photos or utility bills, which we all know is an inconvenience. And on paper, some of that sounds okay, right? Useful even in a practical sense, but here's where it gets a little bit more unsettling. You see, once you give the government a centralised way to identify you, and once that digital ID becomes the key that unlocks your ability to do things like to work and to claim benefits, access public services like healthcare, rent a property, drive a car, etc., pay your taxes, then you're no longer the one in control of those things. That power shifts quietly and permanently away from you. I mean, let's look at what's already happening. In 2024, the government announced a national digital ID scheme, right, for a right to work and right to rent and DBS criminal record checks. In some cases, they already allow employers and landlords now to use private ID verification providers instead of just asking to see your passport. But to do that, you have to upload your ID, right, and facial recognition data. And that data is kept and stored and often shared where needed. But right now, the point is that is voluntary. But as history teaches us, what starts to often happen is voluntary becomes assumed and then expected and then required. So let's break down what we know so far about the digital ID scheme. So digital ID is already here, right? Even though there's no single digital ID card that you carry in your pocket, the infrastructure is being built around you. From biometric passports, as an example, to app-based NHS login systems using facial recognition, or using facial recognition at airports, for example, or needing to scan ID to work in certain jobs. We're already there in practice. So it's not revolutionary, this idea. Let's be clear about that. But it's disguised as convenience, isn't it? A way to make things more seamless and hassle-free. But here's the thing. When every part of your life connects back to one central profile, it's no longer just about convenience, it's about control. The reality is that the digital identities are being rolled out now. Even though there's no single ID card yet, so to speak, they are being embedded into things that we all use, like NHS apps, as I said, jobs, banking, banks, rental checks, etc. That is the reality that exists now. But one thing people may have failed to spot is HMRC's use of these digital identities. HMRC are licking their lips at this prospect, and I'll explain why. See, there are very real plans from HMRC to use this data and automatically populate parts of your tax profile, potentially creating, one single profile that just follows you from birth to death. So let's discuss this now, and I encourage people to listen very closely to this. Now, the HMRC, the tax authority in the UK, has been quietly laying out its transformation roadmap, and it makes one thing very clear in that roadmap, which is that the government is planning to use your digital ID to pre-populate your tax returns and track your financial activity. HMRC want to automate tax returns, use third-party data to fill in your income, expenses, your accounts without you having to do anything, right? Purely for convenience, of course. They want to cross-reference your ID with employment records, with banking benefits and rental income. Why do they want to do this? Well, because they believe that this will help them close the tax gap, right? The gap between what they should collect and what they actually do collect, right? Now, in their own estimates, they say that this could help recover £600 million per year in unpaid tax. Now think about that for a second. You'll have a single digital profile that connects your job and your bank and your account and your rental activity and your self-assessment tax returns, your car, your pension, etc. And this isn't just a theory, these are real plans buried in official consultations. HMRC's own roadmap talks about creating a seamless identity that follows you from birth to death, as I said. They're calling it creating a smarter state. Well, a smarter state for them means a more watchful one, in other words. So what does a smarter state mean for you? Well, it means less privacy. It means that you might be targeted automatically for audits or compliance checks. It means that if there's an error in your profile at any point, you might not even know about it until you're suddenly blocked from submitting a return or blocked from getting a benefit or renting a flat, etc., etc. You won't know about it. And remember, guys, once the state has all this data on you, you don't really get to take it back from them either. It forms a permanent profile. But look, I don't want this to be all doom and gloom, all concern and worry. Let's have a look at the purported benefits of this digital ID scheme and the conveniences that it does offer, because we need to look at this from both sides, right? So let's summarize what we've learned so far. So what have we learned? Digital IDs are being rolled out even now, even though there's no single ID card yet, and they're being embedded into almost all of the most common public services that we use, from healthcare to banking, jobs to tax, etc. And we've also learned that HMRC has major plans to use your digital ID data to automate tax and to monitor compliance and to cross-check your income, which some people may lie about, with a stated goal of, as I said, raising hundreds of millions of pounds a year. That's the purported benefit, right? Now let's look at the other purported benefit. So to ensure we're being fair, the government claims that digital ID cards will make our lives much easier and much more convenient. That's their pitch, essentially, and I'll show you why. So number one, immigration. They'll claim it will help massively with immigration control. And I 100% agree with that. Landlords and employers will be able to check someone's legal right to work or to rent in seconds. It's designed to stop illegal working and illegal renting, for example. Number two, it's a one-stop ID. So from applying for jobs to renting a home to opening a bank account, for accessing benefits, it's all tied to one single secure profile. So it'll be far easier for you to prove who you are. And number three, of course, as I said, HMRC, it'll help them recover an estimated £600 million a year in unpaid tax. Less so much of a benefit for us than a benefit for them. But then number four, which I do think is a fantastic benefit, is benefit fraud, which is the ability to crack down on duplicate claims and speed up applications and cutting out paperwork and ID checks, which will alleviate the burden on government in terms of providing welfare and benefits to the right people. So in short, it's marketed as convenience, security and smarter services, and that's great. But the real question is, at what cost, okay? That's the reason for this video. Who is really in control of all that data? So the government tells us this is to make our lives easier. You'll only have to verify yourself once, so they say. But do remember one thing. Look at what happened with the COVID passes. That started as a temporary measure. And in some countries, it expanded into access into shops and to travel. Travel was a big one. That just goes to show that their use can and probably will, if you look at history, expand over time. Digital IDs can be abused, it can exclude, and it can fail. What if your ID is compromised? What happens then? That could mean serious problems. What if you're a vulnerable person without internet access? What if you're elderly, homeless, undocumented, or fleeing from domestic abuse, for example? Will these systems support you then if you don't have a digital ID? Or will they actually block you from getting the help that you need? Well, I guess that's probably for you to decide. My job is just to explain the hidden realities based on history and common sense. And you may not be on the side of doom and gloom, and that's great. There are obvious benefits here in terms of immigration, fraud control, benefits, and convenience in major public services. But you don't really have to be a conspiracy theorist here to understand the potential for things to go seriously wrong. And maximizing government control and surveillance is never really a good thing. Okay, so now you know what the digital IDs mean, how they will be used and by who, and hopefully now the positives and negatives of their introduction. Well done for making it this far. Now we can finish by looking at what's coming next and how you can protect yourself as best as possible. So right now digital ID is not mandatory, but that line is blurring, isn't it? Already some landlords and employers are being told to use these ID systems. Banks are pushing facial recognitions and things like this, and the DVLA is trialing digital driving licenses as well. Now, as for digital ID cards, which a lot of you may be concerned about, there is credible evidence that digital ID cards will be introduced in the UK. But the details, timing, scope are still being finalised. Again, look, the goal is clear, right? If I have not made this clear enough already, one profile, one access point, one identity for everything. Now, how do we prepare for that? Well, there's not really an awful lot you can do, but you should keep a very close eye on legislation changes. Keep an eye out on opt-out options in everything. Protect your data however you can with authorization methods, and please start to understand what your rights on GDPR protection laws are, so that you know when breaches do occur, and they might occur. This is not a fail-safe solution. Other than that, unless the laws that roll out these digital IDs get overturned, then there will likely be not much you can do other than just to be careful of what information you do put out there about yourself, because once it's out there, once they have it, it's very difficult then to retract that information. Now, I really want to hear from you on this topic. How do you see the introduction of digital IDs and centralized government control over a smarter state? Will it make life easier or more convenient? Will it help identify fraud in all its forms, or could there be something more insidious at play here? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I really want to hear what you think. And don't forget to check out the other videos on my channel. You can learn a lot. When can the police legally stop and search you? What to do if you're ever arrested? Really useful stuff if you're worried about state overreach. I'll link them in the description. If you found this video helpful, do give it a like. And if you want to learn something useful every week, maybe consider subscribing. That said, I'll see you in the next one.